What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Again, important context here. No Damian Lillard last night. No Brook Lopez last night. Chris Middleton sprained his ankle and apparently left the arena in crutches in a walking boot. So kind of a disaster night for the Bucks. That said, I thought they competed really well on the defensive end. Yet another, again, like in terms of defensive effort and commitment to the details, I think they have gone up a significant level since Doc Rivers came back, which is hard to really see the forest for the trees when you're 1-4 in that span. But I did think it was another good positive step for them on the defensive end of the floor. Giannis guarded Kevin Durant pretty damn well. Just one of the few guys and kind of can stay with him step for step and contest shots. Malik Beasley was trying really hard against Devin Booker, even though he's given up quite a bit of size there. And so they were able to keep things interesting throughout most of the game. But the Suns offense broke through in a big way in that fourth quarter. Bradley Beal had 9 points in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. I talked a lot about the idea of high level closeout attacking as an important function of high level offense, especially when you get to the later stages of the playoffs. And it in large part just because defenses get so much better, they're going to chase you off the 3-point line. They're going to take away the rim. This is why I hyper focus on spot up efficiency rather than actual catch and shoot efficiency, because catching and shooting is only one phase of making a defense pay. And when you're not good at putting the ball on the floor, guys can actually recklessly close out at you without necessarily compromising the defense too much. And one of the things that the Suns were doing a lot of were like two-man game with Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant to try to get Malik Beasley switched on to Kevin Durant so that they can go down to the block on him. And they did that early fourth quarter. Quick double team from Giannis, quick swing pass out to Bradley Beal. He knocks down a three. Then later on, Kevin Durant pretty consistently was drawing that blitz out above the key, draws a blitz, drops it to Yusuf Nurkic. Nurkic makes a kick-out pass to Bradley Beal on the left wing, pump fake, rip through one dribble, pull up, elevate, knock it down. That's a high-level closeout attack. That's a situation, if you watch that play, the catch-and-shoot three is not there, the driving layup is not there. And so there's an opening there in the middle of the floor, and having a guy who can capitalize on that is super valuable. And then the matchup attacking was a big one. They went to the post against Campaign with Bradley Beal, drove right through him to the basket for a left-handed layup. Then he drove right past Pat Connaughton, actually smoked the layup, but he's just such a good athlete that he's able to get back up off the floor on that second jump, get the ball, put it back in. That was the big spark for that early fourth quarter run for the Suns. And then pretty quickly they went up big and the game was basically over at that point. Bradley Beal brings that power and force to the offensive end of the floor that the rest of the guys don't have. This is it kind of reminds me of like what Kawhi Leonard brings to the LA Clippers, where, there's a certain finesse element to the way that they play. It's a lot of like high level skill. These are guys that have made their living in the NBA by working harder on the details in the gym by themselves than anybody else and polishing up these extremely well-rounded skill sets to generate high quality shots. Well, a lot of times I shouldn't say a lot of times, it is possible that can fail you in a lot of ways because there's variance in distance shot making, right? And so having a real physical imposition on the game is a great counter to that. Okay, the shots aren't falling, but hey, I'm faster than you. Hey, I'm bigger than you, or whatever it is, right? And like that to me is the role that Bradley Beal plays on the Suns and the role that Kawhi Leonard in particular plays on the Clippers, in the sense where it's like he's actually just a top tier athlete for his position. And he kind of pulls out to like 30 feet and he kind of gets going downhill with like a series of in and out dribbles. And that defender is just panic backpedaling on his heels. There's a step back jumper that he hit on Jay Crowder, I think, in the middle of the fourth quarter, if I remember correctly. And it was just one of those deals where when he backed up and he started coming downhill at Jay Crowder just has no chance to actually take away the jump shot and the drive. And so he's just really aggressively backpedaling, and Bradley Beal can rise up into this like easy, like 12-foot pull-up jumper that's barely even contested because of the physical advantage he brings to the table. And so, if there's a big upside by going with a third star versus a higher level role player, you may lose out on some of the details of the game, especially on the defensive end and in rebounding situations and just some of the role player stuff. But there is something to be said about that additional high level offensive production, right? And like specifically with Bradley Beal as the top tier athlete in the group, because Kevin Durant is extremely tall and long for his specific scoring archetype. And Devin Booker is one of the most skilled players in the league, but Devin Booker's not a top tier athlete at the two guard position. He's not going to physically overwhelm players the way that a guy like Bradley Beal can in his position group. Devin Booker continued his hot streak. He had 32 points, did most of his work in ball screens. He had 19 of his 32 shooting out of ball screens and dribble handoffs. Just too big for Malik Beasley. He's really patient. Like, once he gets over the top of the screen, Malik Beasley just comes, because he's working really hard, trying to get back into the play, and Devin Booker will basically just patiently, whether it's a pump fake or just putting him in jail and waiting, he's waiting for Malik Beasley to end up back on the ground, and then he can just rise back up. And he's so good at like patiently waiting for those little 10, 12 footers that he can get after the defender comes back down to the ground. Devin Booker's 33 points per game in his last 11 games on 55% shooting and 42% from three. So kind of maintaining that top tier superstar level of production that we kind of expected from Devin Booker for the whole season. Wasn't there really at the start, but now he's starting to get into his groove. And then Kevin Durant picked his spots. He was particularly aggressive against Jay Crowder. You could just tell he liked that matchup in particular, and he was going to work whenever he got him on an island. I also thought Kevin Durant defended Giannis pretty well. And, again, like one of the big turnarounds of this Suns streak, because like they're 16-6 since their loss to Dallas on Christmas Day, and they have the 10th best defense in the league over that span. So a top 10 defensive effort over basically a chunk of the season that's more than a fourth of the season. And they have the third best record in the league over that span, including a lot of quality wins. And a big part of that is one of the things I've talked about throughout Kevin Durant's career, which is when he engages himself defensively, he's legitimately one of the most talented defensive players in the league. And he just has a really unique ability to impact games there. And then the last guy I wanted to shout out on the Suns front was Bol Bol. Played a really under control game, using his length and athleticism just to be a pain in the ass. Short shifts and still had 6 rebounds. Had a crazy block. This transition play where AJ Green got a corner 3 for the Bucks, kind of in like one of those run out situations. He was way behind the play and just gave crazy effort and somehow got back in and blocked the 3. But the most impressive part to me about it was, Bol Bol has a tendency, just especially from the earlier phase of his career, to kind of try to do too much offensively, and that wasn't there for Bol Bol in this game. Just was being another spoke in the wheel, so to speak. It was interesting watching the game because the Suns fans were just begging him to shoot half the time he'd catch the day of basketball, because obviously, Bol Bol is a little bit of a fan favorite, right? But no, he was super patient. He caught the ball and he didn't have like a fantastic look. He was turning and looking to run that next dribble handoff. And just, like I said, a really under control game, didn't force anything. The Suns were +8 in his minutes. As a matter of fact, in Bol Bol's shifts, the Suns haven't lost his minutes since December 27th. So he's been kind of a useful contributor for them. He's providing, if you extrapolate, I use per 36, not as a method of like what this player could be if he played more minutes, but just as a method of trying to capture activity for a bench player. And Bol Bol is averaging 16 points and 12 rebounds with 3.3 stocks per 36 minutes so far this season. Just really active in his opportunities. So another good step in the right direction for the Suns. Again, 16-6 since their loss to Dallas on Christmas Day. So trending in the right direction there. Again, the most encouraging part there is the defensive end of the floor. They need to be closer to what the Nets were with Harden, Kyrie, and KD, where it's a two-way impact. It's not just competing on the offensive end of the floor with all of their perimeter skill, but also using their perimeter skill on the defensive end of the floor to stay in basketball games.